That's all I just wanted to say.
Well, let's take a few questions right now while you're here. So raise your hand if you've got a question of Catherine.
I am not clear on the mask mandate because it isn't a public service, as you said, and it is unconstitutional. So where do we stand? Is she just going to be fining people through the health department and we have to still oblige? And then you still want to talk about the Libertas school?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I did forget about that. I don't actually, let me just jump to that real quick because I don't have updates other than I know that they asked for, I'm going to say all the wrong words, but they asked for basically a stay. The school did last week, I think on Friday, and the court, and my understanding is that the health department was jumping the gun and violating the previous directives or orders from the court, and yet the court said, well, no, I'm not going to give you a stay on this. You just have to keep doing what you're doing until tomorrow, I believe, is a hearing. So I don't have the direct information on that. I'm disgusted, and they're lucky they don't have me as an attorney, because if I was a parent of that school or if I were the attorney representing the school, I would have gone to the school the day that it happened. I would have taken the little pieces of paper off and I would have said, we're open, because it's not okay for the government to make up a bunch of regulations that shouldn't even be made up, and then even when these extra, constitutional freedom protecting, the usurpations on our freedoms are there, then that's not good enough. They're not even going to follow those. They're going to just make it up as they go along. So as far as the mask part, though, do you have to wear a mask anywhere? No. And I think I'm the only attorney that'll tell you that's a no, no matter where you are, because there are attorneys that are saying, people that I've worked with at the Great Lakes Justice Center, that are saying in a private business, they have a right to require you to wear a mask. I would tell you, no. The whole reason why we have governments are instituted among men to protect our God-given liberties. So when they're doing that, the whole point is that as we come together as a society, even with the best of intentions, sometimes people get it wrong and they encroach on a neighbor's property, or somebody goes really wrong and they murder someone, or whatever. There has to be a system of government then where we've agreed as a contract on how we're going to resolve these disputes, and that's what the government is there to do, is to resolve the disputes and do so in a way that makes sure all of our God-given liberties are preserved. And the government can't act unless we give them specific permission to act, whereas we don't need permission from the government to act. I mean, that's why we have the Ninth Amendment. That's why we have Article 1, Section 23 of our state constitution. We have all these unenumerated rights. We don't have to list in total all of our rights. We could never do that because God gave us so many rights. It's not the government's job to try to box them all in. So we have a God-given right to breathe fresh air, absolutely. And although a private business, in theory, has that right to do whatever they please, if I were black or Hispanic and I walked in and they said, well, you can't come in because you're black or Hispanic, or because you can't come in because you're a woman, I'd be like, excuse me? And if they told me to leave, and then one of us called the cops, and the cops said to me, if you don't leave, we will arrest you for trespassing. Really? Would that fly in today's society? No. So yeah, I had this conversation with Grand Rapids Police Department recently with the Jimmy John's downtown. I'm the one that called the police, non-emergency line. And they insisted that I had to be arrested and removed from the premises because the guy, he was screaming at me, the guy behind the counter, with my 6-year-old standing next to me. She really had to pee, and he said she was not even allowed to use the restroom. So at any rate, he said because they were the property owner, they have the right to tell anybody they have to leave. Now, if I have a cause of action, I could sue them in court later, but otherwise, until then, I'm committing a crime, and he'll come and arrest me. I was like, the heck you will. So it's that philosophy, though. I mean, it's that kind of thing that's happening. So a private business has no right to discriminate against you, just the same as they can't discriminate against somebody in a wheelchair or anything like that. The government businesses, you don't have to go on the poll to the polls on election day if you haven't already voted. You don't have to wear a mask to go in there. When I went into the Ottawa County building, county building to file my CPL application paperwork, and they tried to tell me I had to wear a mask. Mind you, not a single employee behind the whole plexiglass thing was wearing a mask. And by the time that we were all said and done, there were like 4 of them all hovering within 6 feet of each other to tell me that I had to wear a mask. I told them I have a constitutionally protected God-given right to defend myself. I shouldn't even have to turn in that form, but I'm doing it anyway. And so take my $111 or $115 because I have an appointment and I have a right to be here. So the quicker you fill out my paperwork, the quicker that you can get me out of here. They told me, of course, they're going to make a special exception for me and I'm not allowed in a government building again without a mask on. We'll see how well that works for them when I'm Georgetown Township trustee. So as far, I don't know, I mean, the mask is like a big question, right? So did I answer your question or did you have another piece to the question I didn't answer? I love you. I'm going to give you a hug before you leave. I don't wear a mask. Nobody's ever caught me in a mask. Is it, oh, did you?
We got another question here.
Sorry.
As you know, capacity has a lot to do with business because when you go only 50% or 25% are allowed inside the
Oh, the government will bail
store or
you
the
out.
restaurant, you can put them out of business real quick, as well as distance. Is that another issue as well?
It is an issue. I was sorry. I was being a smart aleck. I couldn't help myself. I said the government will bail them out. It is capacity. That's where they're. You know, it's interesting. Somebody pointed out to me the wording, because the wording of that statute that I mentioned is prohibit the gathering of people for any purpose. It doesn't say limit or modify or abridge the right. So even the statute doesn't allow them to limit capacity for that reason. Of course, our Constitution, we also have, you know, the Contracts Clause. I want to say it's Article 1, Section 17, maybe, of our state constitution. I have it down there, but we have a state constitutional provision as well as the United States constitutional provision that the government cannot interfere with contracts. If you are telling people that they can or cannot hire or fire people based on wearing a mask, or you're telling people that they you know, can only have so many people in their restaurant. I had a business owner from across the state reach out to me, and I feel terrible because I haven't had a chance to answer them yet. I don't have a clear answer anyway. They're saying, what do I do? Everything. Our kids, our older kids work here. It's my husband and I work here. It's everything. This is our everything, and we can't have, you know, reduced capacity because we're this little restaurant, I think it was. And during the summer, it was okay because they had tables outside. This is Michigan. Who's going to sit out in a temperature like 40 or whatever it was today, or when it's snowing and raining, and then we saw the sun for 3 seconds? That's not going to happen. So it is an issue. It's not constitutional no matter how you slice it. And if there's one thing I could repeat over and over again that I want people to take away from this, the government cannot act unless the Constitution, the state or federal Constitution, gives them the authority to do that, because the power is in we the people. I mean, our state constitution, Article 1, Section 1 says that we the people have all inherent political power. And our state constitution preamble is even better than that, but that's a different point. So we have the power, whether we realize it or not. They are trying to steal it, and they have been for decades. Now is the time for us to really, God did all this. In my opinion, this is not the legal side. God did all this because all of this stuff, whether screwing up with our schools or trying to stop us from, you know, different ways that we do, you know, things in our religious practices, or, you know, just instituting all kinds of ideologies that just aren't ours, they're someone's, in government ways or whatever. All these other things have been happening for decades. We all know it. We've been seeing it. We've all probably grumbled about it. But, you know, the rest of the people we know were not willing to stand up and do anything about it. God said, you know what? You guys are just too stupid and too lazy, so I'm going to speed this thing on up, and we're going to do something about it now. If you're not willing to stand up and make a difference now, if you're not willing to make a decision and get off that fence now, you never will. So I think we do have an opportunity. I think God gave us this opportunity to do this very thing, to get engaged, to get informed, to do all this. We need to support those businesses. We need to support the business. Oh, Mike, do you remember the name of that? Facebook kicked you out again, didn't it? Anyway. Oh, okay. We'll just blame Facebook anyway for that. Do you remember the name of that business that's on the other side that said you can't come in if you're wearing a mask? Can't remember. Bob's Ammo? Okay, well, anyway, we need to find more stores like that. Now, I like the idea of people being able to have the freedom to choose, right? Because there are immunocompromised people and things like that. But let's be honest, when you have a mask, and by the way, although I know all the math and the statistics and the medicine behind most of the stuff that I say, if I say it's because I've read it myself, I decided I'm going to finally have 4 medical professionals I reached out today that God has put in my path, and I laid all those questions out so that they can show me from their medical experience how to answer these questions and really give that information out. So hopefully by the end of the week I might have something on my website that has this. But medically speaking, you are not going to stop, it's not going to stop you from getting coronavirus if you're wearing a mask. It's not going to stop people around you from getting COVID-19 if you have COVID-19 and you're wearing a mask. In fact, the COVID-19 spores are so small that the outside of your mask is going to be more covered with the COVID-19 spores than the inside. And they tested it, and they knew this in April. Because, of course, the other countries got it before we did. Testing has been going on for months. And, of course, the CDC came out and said that the people that are getting COVID-19, vast majority, what is like 87% or something like that, are the people that are getting it are people that always wear masks. And what, like, less than 2% of the people that get it are the ones that never wear masks. Because wearing masks is not how our body was designed by God to live and breathe. And you're destroying your ability, your lung capacity, you're getting gum disease and facial bacterial and all kinds of other things. You're wearing down your body, and you're exposing yourself more, but you're also just having that, like it'd be an adult binkies, but worse, because a binky you can rinse off, right? And so just carrying all that around. When this all happened, I initially thought people should have the choice, wear it or don't wear it. The more I hear about the science and the medicine, like the actual science that's out there and medicine, even the ones that the CDC are putting out there, the studies and whatnot, I'm convinced I don't want to be anywhere near someone who's wearing a mask, because they are the ones that are dragging this thing around. They're the ones that are causing the problem. So I think we have an absolute right to defend ourselves. If you choose not to wear or to wear a mask, number one, are you really there to buy something, or are you there to riot or loot or things like that, like we've seen in the streets of Grand Rapids or the streets of Detroit or all over the country, right? So at any rate, long answer to that question.
We're probably going to have to cut it off, Catherine. Ordinarily, I'm not in favor of cloning. In your case, I'd make an exception. Then you could get all the work done. It's a wonderful presentation. We're going to have you back in February when they're going to start mandating the vaccine, and you can't go to work and you can't educate your kids.
Then you need to have me back before then, because we need to do something now. The farthest away I've gone so far that I've been willing to go is because I won't fly, right, with a mask. Can't do masks. The farthest so far I've gone is Virginia, and I was asked to speak at the Constitutional Sheriff's Association in September. And I had people from Maine and Washington, and I'm looking at my husband like he's going to remember all these states, sheriffs asking me if I can come out and do presentations, and I'm like, how would I get there with a bad back driving that long? But here, I live in Hudsonville. This is easy.
We'll get a bigger venue. We'll bring more people. More people need to hear what you have to say, because our
I
basic
do feel better
rights,
in a church, though, I'm just telling you.
Our basic rights are at stake, and you articulate it better than anyone I've heard. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Oh, yes, if you haven't signed the Restore Freedom Initiative petition. And not only that, I would ask that you guys, if you could even get 2-3 people to sign that you know. We need $425,000, and unlike Unlock Michigan, I didn't have $1 million in donations because I didn't have the legislature's backing. It's entirely grassroots. We might have had so far, I'm going to guess, like 20,000, 25,000, something like that donated throughout the whole thing. So we haven't had the ability to do all kinds of advertising. So if you have never done anything political in your life, but you're willing to fight for your freedom now, grab some petitions. We have people that can train you. My husband can train you. We have training video online. We have some people here that can train you. Please help to get signatures. November 3rd is going to be our biggest day. If you go to my website, restorefreedomkh.com/election day, or even just the main page of the main website, the very first button is the sign up for Election Day. Now, Recall is doing their own sign up. They're going to focus on all of the other districts outside of what I'm focusing on. I'm focusing on just filling 200 precincts around the state. Very strategically chosen, at least 51% Republican, if not more, and the highest number of people that live in each precinct, because we have to be strategic with the resources we have. If somebody's willing to sign up for one of those, please sign up that way. If you're not willing to sign up that way, but you're willing to do that, go to the recallwhitmer.com website, because they have their own sign up, and we're going to circulate both petitions. Why not, right? And they're all for freedom. So not officially, and if anybody here is from campaign finance, we're not officially intermingling anything, but we're working alongside of each other. So thank you. And sorry I went so long. I can talk forever. Sorry.